Baby boomers are absolutely unbearable. They believe every single person who came after them is lazy, entitled, and ungrateful. It can seem completely uncalled for, but there's actually some logic behind their perceived stupidity. Let's say you don't feel particularly excited about being abused by your boss at work. Your boomer uncle will go,
"You kids don't show no respect. You want it all handed out for free. All you care about is listening to that damn rock and roll music and having premarital intercourse."
Yeah, whatever. Boomers are out of touch. Everyone knows that.
Of course, I'm not here to dunk on the man, but I want you to understand exactly how this old man's mind works. I want to dissect his brain and really understand how baby boomers became such boomers. They're not magically born different. They don't have some boomer gene that just automatically makes everything they say unbearable. No, they've simply been shaped by the conditions they grew up in. And how that happened is actually pretty interesting. This is boomer psychology, how baby boomers became the most unbearable generation of all time. Let's get into it. Joe's parents were the silent generation, born between 1928 to 1945. His dad, Sir Joe the Silent, was born during the Great Depression and was raised during World War II. The world the Silents grew up in was completely different from the world the boomers grew up in. The Silents genuinely had nothing. Like, seriously, they had nothing. I'm not talking about a nostalgic,
"Times sure were tough, kiddo."
no, like, shit was hard. And that's true for most Western countries. I'm talking food rationing, widespread poverty, fathers going off to war in Europe and not coming back. Like the type of tough shit that shapes your entire worldview. That's why the silent generation had it hammered into them. Shut the up. Be grateful for whatever crumbs you have. Obey authority. And most importantly, never, ever step out of line and go your own way. This was Sir Joe the Silent's childhood. And these values were then passed on to his kids, the baby boomers.
"My mama always said, life is like a box of firecrackers. You never know when one of them is gonna malfunction and blow your head off. So don't go around whining. That's how a man earns respect in this world."
This is how Boomer Joe's worldview was shaped. Values about hardship were forced down their throats. They were taught to repress emotions and to have a deep suspicion of anyone who asks for anything. Joe was literally conditioned, from childhood, to believe that complaining equals being a weak motherfucker. Saying,
"Hey, can I get some of that?"
equals disrespect. He learned that tolerating bad conditions equals strength and character.
I mean, I guess it kind of makes sense. If you lived through the Great Depression...
Look, these values make perfect sense for Sir Joe the Silent. Completely! I have deep respect for him. He's much more resilient and respectable than my sad ass will ever be. But here's the problem. Boomer Joe didn't live through the Great Depression. Joe grew up during one of the most prosperous time periods in all of human history. He had it really easy. He's walking around with the psychology of people whose lives sucked. That's where the issue starts. So Joe takes the shut up and be grateful mentality and steps into the workforce in the late 70s and early 80s. And something happens. It works. The whole shtick. It actually works. You stayed loyal to a company, they gave you a pension, an actual pension. As in, work here long enough and we will literally pay you money every month until you die. That was a thing. That existed. Entry-level jobs paid a living wage. You didn't get paid in exposure. You got a big bag of cold, hard cash. Money you could pay rent with. For the love of St. Alexander of Jerusalem, you could eat. You could even, and I know this sounds insane, eat something other than ramen noodles. For the sweet redemption of St. Luke, you could even buy a house on one salary. One motherfucker.
That sounds fake.
That was the world Boomer Joe came of age in. Boomer Joe did exactly what Sir Joe the Silent told him to do, and it paid off massively.
Yay.
The son of a bitch did it. He actually did it.
Get out! You're not a part of this!
Yeah, I'll leave.
Okay, so his worldview isn't completely pulled out of nowhere then?
It's not. That's exactly the problem. Here's the problem. The world Joe used to live in is gone. It's been wiped off the face of the earth. Entry-level jobs, paying a living wage, or buying a house on one salary is not a thing anymore. If you're Gen Z or a millennial, you already know this. But Boomer Joe can't get it into his head. It's physically beyond the limits of science.
But why? Can't he see the world has changed?
Well, no, he actually can't. And it's not because Joe is stupid. Imagine you go to the gym a lot. You're there every day, surrounded by serious lifters. Your buddies are all benching 400 pounds. All you can do is 225, so you feel pretty weak. Everyone is stronger than you. But if you zoomed out and looked at the general population, like regular people who never go to the gym or do so rarely, benching 225 is very respectable. It's above average. At least that's what I tell myself. The problem is you're in a gym bubble that's skewed your entire sense of what's normal. Psychologists call this in-group bias. That, in turn, shapes your entire worldview. Since everyone you meet is like you, the entire world must be too. That's basically Joe's life story. Joe, just like most people, knows and hangs out with people in his own social cohort, his own age and of similar socioeconomic status. The boomer lives in a boomer bubble. Joe, tell me about your friend Hank.
Hank? Well, he's one of them real fighters. You see, Hank has stayed at the same company for 30 years. And guess what? He's a regional manager now. He did things the right way and got rewarded for it.
And what about the other dude?
Oh, you mean Terry? He's my college roommate. You see, Terry stayed late every day his first 5 years working at his firm, and he's now got the nicest car out of all of us. Can't argue with that. Period.
I rest my case! Why am I bringing up Hank and Terry? To prove one thing, Joe's entire social circle is made up of people who live in his bubble. People who share the same story. That's nothing odd. It's a perfectly normal human thing. Everyone has a bubble, shaped by their circumstances. It's not something people choose to have consciously. The story of following the silent gen mindset and getting results is all Joe has ever known. His entire generation entered the same labor market, followed the same rules, and largely got the same results. So from where Joe is standing, his stuff isn't anecdotal. It's a pattern. He has a gazillion examples of it. That's why his worldview is skewed as fuck.
Everyone I know who put in the work became successful.
And this is why Joe cannot see that the world has changed. His entire evidence base, himself, Hank, Terry, or other old heads are all confirming the same thing. Until your entitled ass shows up and refuse to follow them. That's when the drama starts. Joe simply cannot process your modern worldview. Remember, Joe was taught the old school silent generation values. Complaining is weakness. Asking for things is disrespect. Going your own way is dangerous. He followed those rules and it paid off. He got everything he could have ever dreamt of. Everyone in his generation and social circle confirms this. It's all he's ever seen. Now your modern ass comes rolling in casually. You set boundaries. You quit jobs if they're making you miserable. You refuse to answer emails at 11 p.m. on a Sunday, especially if they're showing reruns of Dancing with the Stars. In your world, this is perfectly rational. You are living in a world where loyalty doesn't get rewarded, where entry-level jobs don't pay rent, where the old rules simply do not produce the old results. You have correctly assessed your situation and you are acting accordingly. So Joe experiences something called cognitive dissonance. Basically, his entire lived experience collides with yours. You try to explain to him how up the world actually is. You show him stats. It just doesn't register because what he's seeing with his own two eyes goes against his entire worldview. So he snaps.
You're a lazy little ungrateful rat. You can't ask for a raise till you've proved your worth. You should be damn grateful you got a job in the first place.
The silent generation values. His own accomplishments. 40 years of confirmation bias. It's all created rigid structures in his brain. Those neural pathways are really freaking worn in. Everything he's ever experienced is telling him, this is how it works. Sorry, bruv. His boomer just can't handle it.
So, I guess we should all be a little bit more understanding of those boomers, huh?
I didn't say that. That shit. None of this changes anything. They played the game on easy mode. We're playing the game on impossible mode. That's still the truth. And I'm not gonna just accept their stupidity. I'm just explaining why they are the way that they are.
And there's the cringe I know.
That boomer bullshit. I hate it. Gah!